jumper. The ball falls into Kyrie's hands. Kyrie buries the three. But, Perk, is Giannis the only player on the planet who can actually block this? I mean, there's not that many.
It's not that many. I saw Jaylen Brown do it like 2 years ago, and I think Ben Simmons. There's only 3 of them. It's only a handful, Rachel, but that's once every 100 games.
Yeah. But you know what, Perk? If we went to the Wayback Machine, I bet Hakeem could do it too. That's my guess.
But would Hakeem have been out on the perimeter to do it? There you go. Welcome to
today's NBA, he would, right?
Probably. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols alongside NBA champ Kendrick Perkins, Hall of Famer Jackie McMullen. We have such a big show planned, guys. NBA Twitter legend Jason Concepcion dropping by to preview tonight's first ever Marvel-themed NBA broadcast. A heroic matchup between the Warriors and the Pelicans. It's going to air on ESPN2. Jeff Green from the Brooklyn Nets, he's also going to stop by talking about his love for Marvel. Also, what's going on with Brooklyn, finding chemistry with his superstar teammates. First, though, the Lakers dropping their third straight game last night. Now Woj and Dave McMenamin reporting the Lakers will be without starting point guard Dennis Schroeder for 10 to 14 days due to COVID health and safety protocols. Schroeder sat out last night's loss to the Raptors because of the protocols. This is the second COVID-related absence for Schroeder. There's never a good time to lose a starter, but this is a heavy blow to the Lakers as they try to reintegrate LeBron and AD back into the lineup. LeBron isn't even still playing consistently. We'll have more on that in a minute, but back to Schroeder, who is averaging 15.5 points and 5.8 assists this season, was one of the key players who kept the Lakers afloat without LeBron and AD. Perk, what do you think the loss of Schroeder means for the Lakers right now?
Well, Rachel, it means everything. And it's horrible and it's a disaster when you look at it. When you look at the structure of the Los Angeles Lakers, it's only 2 playmakers at the guard position and at their wing position, LeBron James and Dennis Schroeder. You take Dennis Schroeder away, who do you have left? A hobbling LeBron James is not good for the Lakers right now. LeBron James is not healthy, as we can see. I don't even think he's 60%. So, and it just goes to show you, I want to give a lot of credit to the players around the whole entire NBA of what they've been dealing with throughout the NBA season, dealing with certain situations as far as testing on the regular, as far as with COVID and the whole COVID protocol situation.
I couldn't agree more, Perk. This is a really tough blow for the Lakers for the exact point you mentioned. Who's going to facilitate now? You don't want to put more on LeBron James's plate. And the other thing about Schroeder, I thought it was really important for him to be around because, as we know, Anthony Davis has been struggling a bit as he reintegrates back into this team. He's only shooting 39% from the floor. The Lakers have actually been outscored by 56 points during the time that he's been back. Now, we know he's a great player, but who better than your point guard, who has been a really big leader, and you could argue one of the most important players on that team, to get you back into the swing of it? Now you're not going to have him.
Jackie, do you think that seeing this will impact any of the Lakers and other teammates or maybe other teams around the league? The league has been pretty clear. If you are vaccinated, the protocols will be different for you. Schroeder missed time earlier this season for contact tracing. The league has already come out and said that's not going to be the case for vaccinated players, taking guidance from the CDC. Right now, he's missing 10 to 14 days, which is usually an indicator that the player is dealing with coronavirus. That is going to be kept private, but we can sort of read the tea leaves of the schedule. And again, look, we have this information from our nation's leading doctors that it is very, 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 very hard to come up with a positive coronavirus test if you are fully vaccinated. Do you think that this is now impacting players and teams on the court and, in fact, could really put a dent in the Lakers' playoff hopes, might affect some of the thinking of players who maybe are okay getting vaccinated, just haven't gotten around to it or have sort of on the fence, Jackie?
Well, if they haven't got vaccinated yet, I would be guessing that their teams are going to ask them to do it in a big hurry and probably recommend the one-shot vaccination. Because as you know, you get vaccinated, you have to wait 2 to 3 weeks to get the second vaccination, and then you're not officially cleared according to the CDC guidelines for another 2 weeks. You're talking 5 or 6 weeks out. I do think this, COVID has just cast a pall over this entire season. I think that's pretty obvious to everybody. And when these things happen, it's just so frustrating, not just to the player involved, but everybody on his team, because now they all have to be tested again. This is just, This nightmare can't be over soon enough for a lot of NBA players, that's for sure.
And look, the NBA has made it clear to the Players Association, to individual players, it is up to the person himself whether he wants to get vaccinated. Right. But they've also made it clear that the rules are going to be different for people who are and aren't, just like the rules in society are going to be different. The CDC has already come out and said this. So you're just going to have to decide. There's all kinds of factors when you decide as a player, am I going to take this painkiller or not? What will it do to my body long term? What will it do if I play on this ankle that I probably shouldn't play in, but it's the playoffs and I really want to be there for my team? Those kinds of questions we're used to players grappling with injury, that they are now going to grapple with vaccination questions that really are a lot of the same sort of pros and cons and equation, I think is going to be very interesting. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Lakers game last night. Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, two-man wrecking crew out there, just torching the Lakers for a combined 76 points. The Lakers' losses continue to mount. They've now lost 6 of their last 7, currently in 6th place in the West. They have the same record as the 7th-seeded Trailblazers, though, so there is a real chance the defending champs will drop into that play-in tournament, something that just seemed inconceivable. It was only 2 months ago they were in 2nd place in the West. LeBron shared his thoughts about the play-in tournament, and they're not positive. Take a listen.
It doesn't matter at the end of the day if I'm not, 100% close to 100%. It don't matter, where we land, So, that's my mindset. And, if this happens to, we end up at 6th or 5th or whatever the case may be, or if we end up in the playoff, whatever that thing is, whoever came up with that need to be fired. But whatever.
All right, so a little breaking news from Woj and Ramona Shelburne. The Lakers' list LeBron is out tonight against the Nuggets. He re-aggravated his ankle in the 4th quarter of last night's loss. Jackie, calling for someone to be fired is strong. I can hear you laughing there. What is your opinion of LeBron's comments?
I can understand his frustration, Rachel. I really can. And you're correct in that it was inconceivable for anyone on the Lakers to even think about the play-in game. I'm sure they never even gave it a thought, never paid attention to how it worked, because it was never going to be part of their equation. It was never going to be anything that affected them. I'm sure Mark Cuban felt the same way about his Dallas Mavericks. I don't blame people for changing their minds. People are pulling out an old quote from LeBron saying he thinks it's a great idea, and it was from March 2018 or March 2020 or whatever it was. But I think all of these guys have the right to change their mind, because no one knew what toll this year. This has been like the Bataan Death March this NBA season, honestly, for every team, coaches, players, GMs, everyone. So I don't blame people for changing their mind and saying, man, the last thing we need are more games with less time in between them.
Yeah, look, Jackie, I agree with your point, but I disagree with LeBron as far as the play-in, because I actually love the play-in tournament, okay? I think it holds teams and organizations accountable throughout the regular season, not to take the regular season for granted. And during this time when it's getting towards the end of the regular season, going into the playoffs, sometimes teams relax. You have guys load managing, guys sitting out games, guys tanking, things to that nature. Well, this here nips everything in the bud. And I think, when you think about load management part of it, where hardworking people are taking their kids to games or their friends to games, their superstars are now playing. Now you have to play because every game means something. So I actually love the play-in tournament. And I think a guy that was a great example who took full advantage of the play-in tournament was Damian Lillard last year in the bubble. He said, I'm not going down to the bubble just to play. I need to have a reason to play, and I want an opportunity to go in and play to get in the playoffs. And he shined like new money. So I get LeBron frustration because his ankle injury, his team, and where they are. But the play-in tournament has been a great thing that the NBA has added to the schedule and to the NBA period.
Look, I'm all for
Go
ahead,
what
Jackie.
you're saying, Perk. Oh, no, I was going to say, I get what you're saying, Perk, but I just think you have to look at this year through a different lens. And now what's happening, because of the play-in and people and teams wanting to avoid the play-in, players who are injured are coming back sooner than they should. I would present LeBron James as a potential example. And so is that good for the league, for players to come back before they're healthy because they want to avoid that seventh spot at all spots? I'm not so sure.
I'm not sure that that's
good.
why LeBron's coming back now, though. There's only such a handful of games before the playoffs. You know that either way, he would want to be getting himself back into shape, getting his rhythm with Anthony Davis. And I will say this for the Lakers, whether they end up in 7th in the playoff spot, play-in spot, or 6th, they may want to end up in 7th looking at the bracket, right? Because if they end up in 6th, guess who they would play in the first round if the season ended today? The Clippers in the first round. Meanwhile, if they end up in 7th, they play either Phoenix or Utah. And I am not making a statement of, oh, gee, those are easier than the Clippers. But I know that there's been talk amongst the Lakers that perhaps you would want one of those earlier matchups. So I think that it is a little bit of a gamble to try to pick your opponent. Having to play the extra game of having to play the playing game might be something that the Lakers, who are banged up, are not looking forward to. But overall, their big problem is LeBron is still hurting, Anthony Davis is still finding his legs, and now Dennis Schroeder is out for 10 to 14 days. All right, friends, I need to show you something. This is Ant-Man's helmet. I'm so excited. We've got a bunch of Marvel stuff coming up. Only 0.3 of a percentage point separating Steph Curry and Bradley Beal in the race for the scoring title this season. Perk, who earns the crown? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, you know I'm not going against Steph Curry for the rest of my life. So I think Steph Curry wins the scoring title because Bradley Beal has more weapons around him. When you look at his team, he has Russell Westbrook, Rui Hachimura, Nito. Like, he have more guys that can help him deliver. Steph Curry has to average 30 plus for the Warriors in order for them to even try to win the game.
And you know what, Perk? Here's the good news for Steph Curry. He's many points as he's scoring. It's amazing how organically he is scoring them. And in the multitude of ways that he is scoring in. You never feel like when you're watching him that, oh man, I'm looking at the standings, I want to win the title. That's not it.
That man can score in his sleep.
He's just phenomenal.
Okay, but Perk, the best pass you've seen in the last 10 years? Come on now, friend. We just saw a great drop pass that Luka made the other night. But I love LaMelo. It's great for the Hornets that he's back. Go ahead, dear.
But Jackie, what I'm saying is he threw an underhanded pass on time, on target, almost 94 feet through traffic, over the top like Tom Brady.
Miss Modesty, Cole Anthony, not shy after his game-winning 3 on Saturday. Take a listen.
Was that the same feeling tonight, Cole?
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. That was the play we drew up. Came off that. Seen I had Kyle Anderson on me. I was like, yeah, it's game time. Trying to get this money.
Jackie, you know what I always say about Cole? He got it from his daddy. Do you think that is where this confidence comes from as well?
Just about to say that. Born in the right household. But you know what? I like positive self-talk. Even when the Magic were struggling, this kid was struggling early on, and he's like, nope, I'm worth it. I'm worth the first round pick, and I'm going to show y'all, and I'm going to show y'all all year long. Positive self-talk. Go with it.
I love it. You know, when you get that first shining moment as an NBA player, a game winner, hey, shine. Do what you do, young fella.
So good. Make reputations. The Blazers have won 4 straight. Friday, Dame hit back-to-back shots from the logo. Perk, don't the Nets know they're supposed to guard him out there? Do they not have television?
I mean, it's 2 guys that you should know when you're doing a scouting report and film session before a game. That's Steph Curry and Dame Dollar, that they got range to pull up from half court. I mean, you got to get up, DJ. You got to get up. I guarantee you Steve Nash reminded him about it.
You know what? I'm going to throw Trae Young in that mix, Perk, too. He's another logo guy. I love these shots.
So fun. And by the way, the Trailblazers were in a bit of a tailspin. Guess what? They kept on fighting, and now they've won all those games in a row. Missed timing. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown colliding late in their loss to the Blazers last night. Now, Tatum said, quote, he should be okay. Jaylen Brown already questionable, though, with an ankle sprain before this game. Jackie, if he does end up to be out, can the Celtics handle losing him even for a game or 2?
I mean, they're going to have to, but this was, you know, this game was such a great basketball game. You watch the end of that and you're just like, you've got to be kidding me. It was such a freak play. I mean, I think they should hold them out for a couple of games. Again, try to get these guys as healthy as you can for the finish line.
I agree. Look, they got Orlando Magic next on their schedule. They should be fine without without Jaylen Brown. Neesmith has been playing great basketball. Peyton Pritchard has been stepping up. So I'm not concerned. They should hold them out for a few games.
All right, guys, I want to take a look at today's Magic Moments brought to you by Walt Disney World. Friday night, we're talking about Jason Tatum again because he tied the Celtics' single-game scoring record with 60 points. It was part of a 32-point comeback to beat the Spurs in overtime. Amazing performance. Got the good photo afterward, but this team still is in need of more wins. They're sitting in the 7th seed in the East. So, Jackie, is the 60-point game something, nothing, or everything?
Oh, it's definitely something, Rachel, because they were getting booed off the floor in the first half, and he literally single-handedly brought them back. And the 60 points were incredible, but just as impressive to me, the 0 turnovers, because he was handling the ball all through this game, very high degree of difficulty, and he would have been very turnover. This is a huge win for them, believe it or not. This would have been the worst loss of the year had it gone down that way.
Yeah, and listen, it was a 60-piece wing dinner Cajun rub, okay? Because he did it in great fashion, and I'm going to tell you why it's everything to me. When you look at all the contenders around the league, and I strongly believe a healthy Celtic roster, their ceiling is to reach the finals. They went to the conference finals last season. So with that being said, you have to have a superstar, a guy that is capable of erupting for historical nights. When you look around the league in the Eastern Conference, you got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Giannis, Joel Embiid. Well, the Boston Celtics have Jason Tatum, a guy that scored 53 and 60 points in 1 week, a guy that is averaging 48 points over his last 3 games. I mean, that's what you need in order to rise to the top, and he's taking that leap, and I love to see it.
And it's just got to give them confidence, right? Especially as we just mentioned, if Jaylen Brown ends up sitting out the next game, just having that knowledge that your guy on your court can dig you out of that hole. You don't want to depend on it, but it's good to know it's there. All right, coming up, guys, you're going to see my conversation with the MVP favorite, Nikola Jokic. I'm really excited to show you our whole discussion, the evolution of his journey. First, though, I do want to talk about Evan Fournier while we're still on the topic of the Celtics. He missed 2 weeks with COVID, has really struggled since returning to the lineup. Fournier finally broke out with a 21-point game against the Blazers, but after the game, he described his lingering symptoms. Take a listen.
It's like I have a concussion, you know. Right now, it's actually doing a little bit better, but at first, it's like the bright lights were bothering my eyes, and my vision was, you know, blurry, and you know, everything was just going too fast for me. Yeah, I mean, it's still the case. Some stuff are, you know, better. You know, at times I'm really struggling to focus.
Night in our nightcap on ESPN, the Nuggets taking on the Lakers at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. And I recently sat down with Nuggets All-Star center Nikola Jokic. We discussed his journey, right, from being the 41st pick in the draft. If he wins MVP, that will be the lowest drafted player to win the award ever. How he went through changing his body, changing his approach, and getting to this season where he is not only the MVP favorite, but leading this Nuggets team without Jamal Murray now. Take a look.
Jokic, what a pass! Jokic looking all universe right now. Another brilliant dish.
He's just one of the best passers in the league, period.
Nikola, it has been another season of just eye-popping passes, moves that look like they're made out of silk. You grew up in Serbia, and you played a lot of other sports besides basketball. You played soccer, and you also played a little bit of water polo with your friends. A lot of the one-handed passes or those sidearm passes seem to come from that. How much was the way you grew up doing all these different things an influence on how you play today?
To be honest, I always say I'm playing this way since I started playing basketball. Even now I play all other sports, volleyball, spike ball, water polo. That helps too, you know, to see some different sports, a different point of view, what I can do, you know. So just and I'm enjoying playing other sports.
You have the signature move, which the Nuggets play-by-play broadcaster has nicknamed the Sambor Shuffle after your hometown.
Jokic, Sambor Shuffle is good!
Warriors' Draymond Green had a different way of describing it. He called it that right-footed joint, and he kept talking about how difficult it was to defend.
He hit a couple of those right foot joints that he shoot on me, like frustrating as hell. You feel like you've done everything you could possibly do to make him take a bad shot, and it hit nothing but the bottom of the net.
But that move was invented out of difficult circumstances, right?
Yeah. I twisted my left ankle, and I just was shooting upstairs in a practice facility. It was kind of a little bit painful to jump over the both legs, and I kind of started jumping over the right leg. And the ball was going in. I said, maybe I can use this, and it's working since then.
With the 41st pick in the 2014 NBA Draft, the Denver Nuggets select Nikola Jokic.
When you first got to the league, did you think you were drafted too low?
I didn't even know. I mean, I was sleeping. My brother called me, and he was partying, opening champagne, I don't know, something. And he was in New York at that time, and I was like, "Come on, brother, I'm sleeping." So, in that moment, I didn't even think it's a big thing, you know, because I never imagined myself coming here.
When you first came over to play in the NBA, you were not the slim, trim muscle machine that you are now, Nikola. How would you describe your body back then?
I mean, when I first started playing basketball back home in Serbia, Belgrade, I really couldn't do a push-up. And then I came here. Here I was really probably the worst body or worst strength condition in the NBA.
Come on, saying you were the worst conditioned player in the NBA? I think you're being a little hard on yourself. You really think that?
I was not far away from the worst, so I think personally.
I did hear that before you came to the NBA, you used to drink a gallon of Coca-Cola a day?
Yeah. And I love it. I drink the last Coke, my first summer league, on the airplane coming to America, and I remember it.
You were already eating better after those first few years in the league, but once the NBA shut down for COVID and you were back in Serbia, you got really serious about your workouts, about your diet.
I just wanted to change something, you know. I wanted to see, can I do it? Can I really change my body? And I lost a lot of pounds, and I feel much better, you know. To be honest, I still don't run faster. I think it's just main thing, I don't get tired that fast. I can play a lot longer. I think by changing my body helps me a little bit in defense too, and experience, you know.
All of this has combined to make you the favorite for the MVP award this year, and we've heard other guys who are in the conversation say, I should be MVP and here is why, or another guy, I should be MVP and here is why. You never say anything like that. How come?
I mean, I never think about it, to be honest. I didn't came here to want to be an MVP of the league, you know. I always think someone is better than me, you know. I want to compete to beat him. So just by that mentality, I'm gonna be underdog always.
Murray's down and hurt. Oh my goodness. He's reaching down for the knee, and man.
You guys really seemed on track to be right there in title contention this year. I know that is your biggest goal. And then Jamal Murray goes down.
Yeah.
What goes through your head after the initial just being concerned for your friend about what it's going to do to the rest of your season?
It's hard, you know, because I really miss him. He's someone he's really like, he's competing. He's really competitive. He's like dog on the floor. It's not gonna be pretty. No, it's not gonna be nice, but as long as we have the win, I think the only way we can do it is together. It's fun when you play together, when you pass the ball, when you share the ball, when you're playing for each other. You know, then the whole team is happy.
And just one more tech, he will hit that threshold for the automatic one-game suspension. You know, the one that got Draymond in the 2016 NBA Finals. Now, after the game, Luka stated, quote, "I won't get another one. Don't worry." Perk, are you worried?
I'm not worried, Rachel. And from a former guy that led the league in technical fouls for 2 straight years, he's going to be able to control himself. I just want Luka to hoop. Phenomenal basketball, but just quit crying so much. Luka, it's all good.
Remember, if you get suspended, you then get every other technical you get a suspension for. So this is to all caps. Our friend, the one and only Jason Concepcion, joining the jump. And when he brought this hammer out during the commercial break, I thought I might faint. I was so pleased, Jason.
Thank you for having me. What a delight to be here.
There's literally nobody on earth more qualified to talk about the intersection of Marvel and basketball than you. But before we get to that, please explain your multi-podcast universe now with Take Line in all caps.
Take Line is the podcast that I co-host with two-time WNBA champion Renee Montgomery. Comes out every Tuesday. We talk about the intersection of sports and politics, gender issues, etc. And then All Caps NBA is our comedic video show, satirical look at the NBA through the lens of the internet. Comes out every Friday. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. I will smite you down with Mjolnir.
I love it. Jason used to walk to the comic book store every Wednesday. Little Jason getting his Marvel comics. He also is the co-host with Mallory Rubin of Binge Mode Marvel, which I recommend everybody check out. It's on Spotify. There is nobody who could do this better. So, Jason, I am asking you now. Select your starting five if you were making a basketball team of Marvel characters. Take us through.
At point guard, I'm going to go with Captain America, Sam Wilson, Captain America. You've got the wings, newly made and minted in Wakanda. He's able to see the entire court from above, call out the plays, perfect playmaker, perfect ball mover. Hawkeye, listen, it's a controversial pick, but I feel like we need that long-range shooting. It's so important in today's NBA to have that spacing on the court. Small forward at the 3. I'm going to have Dr. Strange. It's maybe cheating a little bit, but he has the time stone and he can keep rewinding. Think about like you have a close game, final 30 seconds of a close game. What are you going to do? Dr. Strange can just keep looping it until they win. Wanda Maximoff as my 4. Incredibly powerful, can alter reality. Some might say too powerful for an NBA game. And then finally, I need that rim protection. I need a 60-foot Scott Lang who is just going to absolutely block everything that comes towards the rim. And then as a roll man, as a diver, I've got a 60-foot center that's just going to be rolling towards the rim and tearing down the arena. It's unstoppable.
Okay, but your 6th man there is the one that made me, I'm not going to lie, squeal with delight when you said Pangborn was coming off the bench.
Jonathan Pangborn from Doctor Strange. He used magic to heal his legs specifically so he could play basketball. So shouts to my guy, Jonathan Pangborn. He's got the heart and the grit that we need. He could have used magic for anything, to heal the world, to foster world peace. Instead, he did it so that he could break ankles. And what could be more magical and what could be a better use for magic?
Now, you've got Tony Stark as your coach, but I want to put your starting 5 up against my starting 5 because, Jason, I feel you've made some mistakes. Here I go. Okay. I also have Hawkeye at guard, but I have him at point guard because to me, you need to be able to, again, see all the angles, right? He can see everything. He can direct traffic. He can make those laser pinpoint passes that you need. At guard, at shooting guard, Captain Marvel, Jason, because the woman literally shoots photon blasts out of her hand so she can handle the three-point line. Thank you. Groot at forward. Why?
I like it.
What does everybody need? They need someone rangy and wiry who can reach out and defend on the perimeter. Groot is your guy. Scarlet Witch, for all the reasons that you just said, she is also on my team. Professor Hulk, the man in the middle, that combination of brains and bronze is what we need in today's NBA at center. Coach, Doctor Strange, not only for the time looping quality, but this man can see 14 million versions of the future, so he knows the opponent's strategy before it even happens. And then, Jason, I thought you'd appreciate this. Lead referee, Heimdall, because the man can see everything, maybe, or sometimes maybe not.
I mean, he missed a few things over the course of his Marvel career. Several invasions of Asgard, but that's okay. I still think a strong pick.
I'm just saying it might be appropriate for how some people see referees. So, Per, can you judge at all? I know you might not be quite on the nerd level of me and Jason here, but who do you think has the better starting 5?
Well, you know what? Look, I'm gonna tell you what. It's close, Rachel and Jason. I'm telling you, it's close. But what got me is the center position. And Rachel, I gave you the nod because of Professor Hulk. Like when you broke it down, you need a bruiser type guy in the middle. And as a former bruiser myself, I got to give it to Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jason, you can redeem yourselves. Okay, go ahead.
Are we concerned that Professor Hulk, his arm hasn't healed from the end of Endgame? Is he still on the IR? I'm unclear about that.
I am not. I have faith in Banner. I don't know about you, but I do. I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself, though, Jason. One of the things we all love about Marvel is the multiverse, alternate timelines where characters deal with different realities, events, other than our main current timeline. So we thought, what if we made our own NBA multiverse? Is there one moment in NBA history that if things happened differently, the timeline would branch off, our current world would look so different? So, Perk, what is your pick for most intriguing NBA multiverse?
Ooh, I'm going to have to go in 2018, Chris Paul with the Rockets. If he doesn't pull his hamstring, I think they beat the Golden State Warriors, and I think they go on to defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Chris Paul and James Harden win their first NBA championship.
Wow, it's a great one. I think Chris's ability to elevate a team is unparalleled, and we've certainly seen what he's been able to do as a member of the Suns. I think it's a good pick. It's a great one.
Well, look, if Chris goes and James go on and win that title, I don't think the Chris for Russell Westbrook trade happens, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, I don't think maybe the Russell Westbrook to DC trade happens, or John Wall. His life is different. And I don't think James Harden ends up in Brooklyn. So it would change our current NBA season as well. I love that pick. Jason, what is your most intriguing NBA multiverse scenario?
Wow. I'm going to go back to 2005. The Phoenix Suns, the 7 seconds or less Suns, had been just rolling over the league. They get into the playoffs. They dispatch with the Grizzlies. And then against the Mavs, Joe Johnson breaks his orbital bone, misses a significant amount of that series, which they then progress to the Spurs, and misses a significant amount of the Spurs series, and the Suns fall to the Spurs. Joe has always said he thinks they get a championship if he's healthy for that. I agree. Peak Amari, Nash on the way to the MVP, Sean Marion, that rangy 6'10" guy that could do everything. I think that changes a lot of things. I think Joe doesn't go to Atlanta. Atlanta then doesn't have that period with Joe Johnson. I think the Suns then match the Spurs, who were always their bête noire, the villain that was turning them away time and time again. That's the one that I am fascinated by.
I strongly agree with that, Jason, and I love that pick. The Suns dominated the NBA throughout the course of their season, and Joe Buckets, that's what I call him, ISO Joe. He was a huge part of that success, and the great Tim Duncan always said that in order to win a championship, you need 20% luck, and luck and health runs in the same category. So I love that pick.
I love that one, too. My multiverse pick is, what if Klay Thompson didn't save the Warriors in Game 6 of the 2016 Western Conference Finals? Remember, the Thunder were leading going into the fourth quarter. They were up in the series. If they had won the game, they would have won the series. Klay goes off nuclear, 19 points in the fourth. What if he only scores 11 points, which would have been still a crazy quarter? And yet, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook would have gone on to the finals. Kevin Durant does not go join the Warriors. We do not have the 5-year dynasty of dominance in Golden State, although, of course, don't ever count Steph Curry and Klay Thompson out. But, boy, things would have been different. Jason, what do you think?
I think that's a fascinating one. Kevin Durant joining a 73-win team was a shocking moment. What happens after that? Does he end up in Brooklyn where he is now? That's a really, really great one.
Rachel, I think that's the best one yet, because guess what? Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant would have won more titles, They both would have never left OKC and retired as Thunders. That was an excellent pick.
Well, look, the fact that Klay scored 19 in the fourth quarter, it's possible that we are in the alternate timeline because that happening is so crazy and unusual. This may be the branch timeline, while meanwhile there's another Jason and Perk off in the other timeline where Kevin Durant is still in Oklahoma City. Jason, thank you so much for stopping by. This is just this conflation of Marvel and the NBA is one of my most proud days here at ESPN. Everyone check out Take Line and All Caps. We'll be right back after this break.